Welcome back. A local author and illustrator has written several children's books. Your family may be big fans of them. And she's joining me today to talk about what inspired her and highlight some of her favorite characters and illustrations. Welcome, Sharon Takerer. Sharon, thank you so much for being here. I'm already loving the illustrations that you've brought here.
Thanks.
And we're going to talk about more of these, but what kind of got you inspired to write and illustrate to begin with?
Well, my father was an artist and illustrator, and my mother was a writer. I didn't realize that I would follow in their footsteps one day, but they both had a great sense of humor too, and I like to plug that into a lot of my books. My first book, Seamus, the Patron Snake of Ireland, was one of those books. So it's about a little snake, and he was the apprentice to St. Patrick, and he was credited with designing the Book of Kells and the Celtic knots and designs. Second book was Edna Sita, about a little girl who learned the fine art of Mexican cooking, and that was based on a friend of mine who lives locally and told me her story, and she has a great sense of humor. My third book was A Really Big Sneeze. It's about a little girl's idea of how the universe was created. She thought God was in his workshop and cosmic dust flew up his nose, and when he sneezed, all her favorite things came into being. Her best friend, her parents, and her dog, Mr. Wagglebutts. And he's
Wagglebutts,
yes.
And then we have Jebby at the end.
Jebby was my most recent book, and that was based on a real-life Jebby. There was a priest that I knew had a wonderful dog named Jebby. And that dog was just so amazing that I thought, one of these days I've got to write about Jebby. And it's a Christmas story, actually.
It's so interesting to kind of hear where they began, the beginning inspirations of all the books, and then of course what we get to enjoy at the end of that. And you were talking about your parents. I'm assuming that's maybe where you got a little bit of that talent, runs in the blood. And now that we have these books out here and you've given us a little bit of a background, can I ask if there's a favorite book or character, or is that like asking a mom who your favorite kid is?
I like every book that I write. I'm currently writing a sequel to Seamus. It'll be Slattery O'Slither Saves the Day. Say that 10 times fast. The illustrations kind of represent some of my favorite drawings from the book. The Irish step dancers from Seamus. Seamus called them the Kilgarry Snake Stomping Brigade. And Mr. Wagglebutts, of course, was based on a dog that I had. Happy, all dogs, you know.
Yeah.
Always happy to see you. And then God, I decided he would have purple hair. I wanted to make him all-inclusive, and I also am very, just very inclusive of all the different diversities in the book. Today is an exciting day for me because my favorite author was Dr. Seuss, and it's his birthday today. So this makes this appearance here extra special for me.
Oh, I love that. And I know we're talking about Seamus and you're doing kind of a follow-up to this. Our cameraman, who is not a child, says he can't wait to get his hands on this to read it, but who is normally your age audience?
Well, folks used to ask me that all the time. I said 8 to 80 because I want to entertain the adults reading the book as well. And I might be dating myself a little bit, but there used to be a wonderful program, Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents walking through our house when we would be watching that. And they'd stop and they'd wait for it. And the humor was wonderful. I try to plug in a lot of humor into my books. So there's a lot of it in Seamus. There's a lot of it in A Really Big Sneeze.
Yeah.
And also Edna Sita. My favorite illustration in Edna Sita is one of coyotes. It's based on a friend of mine, and she told me stories of her life and her adventures in cooking. And she told me one time about throwing masa balls out into the desert, and the coyotes ate them. And I started to laugh when she told me this story. And she said, "It's not funny, those poor little coyotes. They had belly aches." I said, "But now I know why coyotes howl. They have belly aches from your cooking."
I think it's a little bit of your imagination, a little bit of, you know, the original stories.
Yes.
And I know I'm obviously getting an opportunity to sit down with you, learn a little bit more about the background on the books. And a lot of people will have that opportunity at the Festival of Books.
Yes.
You'll be there once again.
Yes, on Sunday, March 11th. I'll be signing books for 2 hours at the Children's Pavilion, Authors Pavilion. And this is probably about my 5th or 6th time being involved with the Festival of Books. It's wonderful. It's a lot of fun. And usually when I get a new book out, I try to have a booth there as well. So I just look forward to it every year. And Seamus, I might mention, is perfect in time for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
Every year I have that little bit of an advantage. So.
Well, I'm going to remind everyone again where they can come, get a book signed, and I'm sure the kids would love to meet you and see who's behind their favorite characters as well. But Sharon, thank you so much for coming and stopping and talking to me.
I love to tell the story.
This was wonderful. Now, Sharon is having a book signing at the upcoming Tucson Festival of Books inside the Children's Author Pavilion. That's going to be on Sunday, March 11th from 12:15 to 2:15 in the afternoon. To learn more, give them a call at 520-747-1473 or email Bertie O'Brien 222@AOL.com.